It's pretty amazing what the first win in 9 weeks for Toronto FC can actually do to the outlook for fans in the stands. How you doing, everybody? Tim Drodge here, View from the South Stands, coming to you Thursday afternoon, the evening after Toronto FC's first win, as I mentioned a moment ago, in 9 weeks versus what's becoming a hated rival, the Vancouver Whitecaps in Major League Soccer action. A win against a heated rival with less than TFC's best 11 on the pitch, far from it actually, and I'll get to the game in a few moments. Couple of things coming out of yesterday's activities, and there's, Lord knows, a whole bunch of activities to talk about. The first one obviously is the momentum, the little bit of extra momentum that the Reds now have going into what's becoming the most important game of the season so far, the Voyageurs Cup final against the Vancouver Whitecaps once again early on Saturday afternoon. Getting a win against the Whitecaps, and both teams, by the way, didn't play close to their starting 11 yesterday, and again I'll get to that in a little bit, but I think there were a couple of things that were really different yesterday in the stands. This was the first time since the Portland game back early in the spring that saw Martinez score 2 goals, one of them a real beauty, coming down the right wing where TFC won the game 2-0. It's the first time almost since then at home that I saw as many fans around me in the south end of the stadium having as much fun as they were having. I think obviously the win had a part to do with that, but the huge news coming from the club before the game, I think had a bigger effect than anything else. Danny Koevermans and Torsten Frings are specifically who I'm referring to right now. A bona fide striker from the Dutch league. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the Dutch name for the league. And a guy who scored like 136 goals in 260 odd games. So he's a 1 goal every 2 game kind of guy. Big, strong, experienced striker who's played more than a decade at the highest level in Europe. And then, of course, we have Torsten Frings, who's played in World Cup finals, who was brought here to a great extent, from what was said in the press conference Wednesday before the game, on the advice that he got from his former World Cup coach in 2006, TFC consultant Jurgen Klinsmann. Both players are on designated player contracts. Both players are going to be here for the next 2.5 years. What that means for Julian de Guzman remains to be seen, but as it stands right now, TFC has 3 designated players under contract. We're one of the only clubs in the league to actually do that. And I really think, more than anything yesterday, getting back to the mood in the stands, I think what the signing of these 2 players did was sort of bring back the concept of possibilities. This season, to a great extent, has been pretty bleak. Anybody who's watched this, watched these video blogs or read what I've written over the last few weeks knows that it's been, much more angst than anything else that the TFC supporters have had to deal with over most of the season, frankly, and that there haven't been very many bright spots. When I see the management of the club make a statement like this, they're paying these guys. Again, we don't have the numbers. We will when the Major League Soccer Players Association releases the numbers a little bit later on in the summer. I think that happens at some point in July, and I'll have them for you when they're released. What it does say is it shows to me an ownership group that's not gun-shy. They realize that their brand has been tarnished somewhat by the poor results this season and in previous seasons past. They gave Aaron Winter and company money and permission to go out and sign 2 very expensive players. If you're paying anybody on a designated player contract, they're making potentially anywhere upwards of $1 million or more. It could be in the multi-million-dollar ranges for a team that generally sells most of its tickets. A team that, for example, has had what have been fairly underwhelming results from the designated players that they've purchased previously. We've got two to go by. We've got the aforementioned Julian de Guzman, who didn't get much of a ringing endorsement, by the way, from Aaron Vinter in the press conference yesterday. I'm going to put the conference up with this video as well. I'd like you to take a look at it if you haven't, and go to the part where Vinter talks about now that he's got a leader up front in Couvermans. He's got a leader in the midfield in Torsten Frings. I don't know where that leads our current designated player, Julian de Guzman, who, ability notwithstanding, I think is very fair to say has been a big disappointment. And then, of course, we had the bust that was Mista last year, who got paid over $1 million for one goal versus Cruz Azul. More than anything else, I think that statement again brought a lot of excitement back into the stands. I actually saw a couple of Frings shirts miraculously appear on the backs of fans during the second half. I think they went to the booth there by Gate 3, ordered the shirts, and had them on in the second half to celebrate. Obviously, arguably the most pedigreed player to ever play for the Reds. The other issue, and I'll get to the game in a second, the other issue that came up beforehand were rumors that I wrote about yesterday afternoon about Aaron Vinter. There were rumors flying around on Twitter yesterday, rumors that were actually posted by some very well-respected soccer journalists, not just here, but in the United States as well, that were saying that they've been hearing that Aaron Vinter is going to be dropping his position as head coach and continuing on as technical director, which is his two hats that he's wearing right now, and that Bob de Klerk would be actually moving from assistant coach up into the head coach position. If you've ever been to a TFC practice, and I've been, with the help of the club, lucky enough to go to a couple this season, I can tell you that Bob de Klerk is the X's and O's guy. He's the guy that actually runs the practices on a daily basis. So if this transition does take place over the next couple of weeks, I don't foresee there being any significant change for the worse when it comes to what's happening on the field right now. De Klerk is the guy that's implementing the tactics. Vinter might be the strategy guy, but de Klerk is definitely the X's and O's guys. I'm still hearing, by the way, that this story has some legs, and there should be some developments one way or the other next week. Now, getting to the game itself. As I mentioned coming in to the game in this space numerous times, I was really kind of hopeful that Vinter would sort of make sure that he did whatever he could to prioritize the game on Saturday, and it looks like he did that, and so for that matter did Tommy Sohn, the coach of the Vancouver Whitecaps. Neither team played what would have been their best 11 by any standards. Terry Dunfield, Canadian international, didn't play the entire game. Eric Hasley, who scored 2 goals against TFC in the game in Vancouver back in March, and scored one in the monsoon game in May that was wiped off the map, only came on in the second half and had some glimpses, but he was rested, of course, for the game on Saturday. TFC, for example, just to give you an idea, did play most of their starting 11 with the exception of Julian de Guzman and Donnell Henry. Both of those folks were rested. Most likely we're going to see them at some point on Saturday. And just to give you an idea on some of the subs that were used by TFC yesterday, when you've got Ashton Morgan, Matt Stinson, and Demetrius Omfroy, who's been playing well in the reserves, and got his official Major League Soccer debut yesterday as well. Those guys coming on as your substitutions tells you a lot about how Vinter was actually prioritizing the game on Saturday versus the game Wednesday. But hey, they win the game. That's even better. I think it was a real coin toss last night, considering that no team started anything close to their starting 11. I think there were some real standouts for TFC. I think Stefan Fry, particularly when Hasley came on, I think it was the 48th or the 49th minute, made a really nice save to keep Vancouver off the board. Danley Borman had a wonderful game, I think, as well at fullback. Plata ran his legs off last night. In particular, I thought he was very strong. I thought Richard Eckersley was very strong as well. He actually slid into the center back position last night, and I think acquitted himself very well. TFC, of course, did have some defensive frailties. It seems, unfortunately, until they bring in some help at that position at center back, that's going to be the case going forward. But they seemed a lot tighter in general last night than they've been in any number of games previously. One of the other things I noticed as well, and I'm not sure if this is a tactical thing or if it was just taking advantage of what TFC had to work with. To use a hockey term, there was a lot of dump and chase going on last night. What was happening is players like Urosowski in the midfield were getting the ball. They were dumping the ball up long, wide to players like Martina out right and specifically Gel Plata up left to really just chase onto the ball and make the Vancouver fullbacks actually run and work and be tested. And that worked all night long. Borman was bombing up into the play from fullback as well, really giving some of the Vancouver defenders fits all evening. And then, of course, it comes to Nick Soolsma. I've been less than impressed with Soolsma all season. I think he's a little slow of foot when it comes to a relatively athletic paced league like Major League Soccer. But last night he showed me some resilience. If you remember, in the 52nd minute, he was pulled down on the right edge of the box and was given a penalty kick. He stepped up to the penalty spot and put the ball past Jay Nolly, and bang, it's 1-0. Unfortunately, Gel Plata actually encroached on the box, and the referee required Soolsma to step up and take the penalty shot all over again. He did that, and he scored from the second time, and that's a bit of a nerve-wracking thing. I'm sure it's probably a nerve-wracking thing to take a penalty at the best of times, and then you convert it, and then you have that release of adrenaline. Then you get the whistle gets blown. You get to say, "Hey, that doesn't count. You got to go back and do it again," and then keep as calm, keep as cool, and play a little bit more of a veteran beyond his 23 years and secure the ball into the net the second time running. Ended up being enough for the win. So what a monumental day. Our coach is still here for now. We've got two wonderful players in Kouvermans and Frings, who TFC will be able to see in about 16 days from now. They'll be able to play, I think, on the 19th of July, which is the first game for the Reds after the transfer window opens. We've got the Reds securing a home point against a heated rival while resting some key players for a critical game on Saturday. And of course, we do have that critical game on Saturday coming up. And remember, folks, TFC not only has momentum, they actually have a goal to the good, because they scored an away goal in Vancouver way back in May. If they're able to score a goal early, that means Vancouver has to come back and score two, which makes it a very, very different exercise. If Vancouver scores one, and TFC only has to come back and score one to take it to injury time. So having that away goal is absolutely precious. So my mood is lifted, not just by the win, but by the reinforcements that are soon to be here. And it was really good to see an uplifted fan base last night as well. And I hope, for the sake of that newfound optimism, that the Reds are able to secure the Voyageurs Cup on Saturday as well. And one final reminder, the Academy, it's going to be a great day of football on Saturday. The TFC Academy plays Saturday evening just across from BMO Field at Lamport Stadium. I'm going, and I hope you guys are going to be going as well. Thanks again for watching, and come on, you Reds. Have a good day. Cheers.